Well, welcome everyone. I'm Travis Emmett, the facilitator for this course. Well, congratulations. You're on your final topic of Fundraising 101 Session 1. In this topic, we'll be going over 1. Solicitation or appeal strategies, and acquisition, cultivation, and donor growth strategies, and how they interact. Number 2 will be some examples of fundraising, cultivation, and donor growth strategies and their importance. And finally, number 3, there will be major solicitation or appeal strategies given and their strengths and weaknesses. So let's get started. So why all the distinctions? If you've already been looking over the materials for topic 4, you may be wondering, what's with all these terms? In fundraising, your goal goes deeper than just raising funds, or at least it should. You as the fundraiser are just as much a friend raiser. Your focus is more on the relationships than just on the money. When dealing with donors, a fundraiser has 3 basic tasks: acquisition, cultivation, and solicitation. Under cultivation, there are several other tasks involved as well. Let's take some time to explore each one. Acquisition is all about how we acquire new donors. It involves searching for new potential donors and inviting them to partner with us as individuals or as an organization. Acquisition is necessary to maintain and build your donor base. Yet acquisition is costly. In fact, you should expect to spend more money on acquiring donors than what you will immediately get in return from those first-time donors. Remember, first-time donors generally do not give large amounts. You can expect your response rates for acquisition efforts to be even lower than 1%. Cultivation is all about how to grow that relationship with the donor, and thus is one of your most critical tasks in fundraising. You should be spending at least 60% of your time cultivating your donors. That is just trying to build a relationship. Keep in mind the 3-to-1 rule. For every 1 request for giving that you make, you should have already made 3 efforts just to build a relationship with that donor. Donor growth is an extremely important concept to understand. Ultimately, you want your current and future donors to go somewhere. Donor growth is about making sure there are consistent opportunities for your donors to go from each level of relationship, commitment, and giving to the next. Let's take a look at our donor pyramid to illustrate this idea further. Your first task in fundraising will be to search out and build a list of potential donors. This list will be quite large since the response rate will be so small. Those who do respond become first-time givers. Most likely, their donation amount will be small as well. Do you want your donors to stay there? Of course not. You want them to continue to give and to increase their giving in proportion to their giving abilities. Through cultivation and structured donor growth opportunities, they will have abundant opportunities and encouragement to become regular givers, perhaps through a monthly giving program, consistent appeals, events, and other interactions. They will have the opportunity to continue to increase their giving. Finally, you should have planned giving and opportunities set up for those donors who retire who have been faithfully cultivated over the years and are finally ready to make large donations. During this part of the topic, I provide examples of different ways you can go about soliciting or making appeals or just communicating with your donors. Each one has strengths and weaknesses and appropriate times to be used. Direct mail is probably the most commonly thought of and is still perhaps the most broadly used form of communication today. Direct mail can take on many forms. It can be personalized and be mass-produced. It can be costly and can be time-consuming. Response rates for direct mail is higher than email but lower than phone calls. Email is also a popular way of communication. It is cheap, mass-producible, and is not as time-consuming. Email is not as personal and direct as mail or phone calls. It is the lowest response rate out of the 3. Telephone. Telephone calls is the most personal out of the 3 and has the highest response rate. However, phoning individuals or having a telethon can be quite time-consuming. Online giving is not the way of the future. It's really becoming the way of the present. Communication through your website and social media is a must. Online giving may be personalized or mass-produced. Usually this type of communication is not as expensive or time-consuming. For online solicitation, response rates and average gift amounts are smaller, but this is the only way to communicate with the up-and-coming generation of givers. Special events have high response rates and can be very personal. Special events tend to be very costly and time-consuming. Major events should be planned sometimes 1 to even 2 years in advance. Consider bringing in sponsors to help keep the costs down. Personal visits are the most effective form of fundraising. The problem is that personal visits take up the most time. Consider reserving personal visits for your major donors. Remember to take into consideration your goal, target audience, etc. Does the form of communication and fundraising strategy best match the goal amount or donor demographic? Will you be able to get the response you need to reach your goal from the amount of people you'll be sending the appeal out to? Take into consideration the average gift size for that type of appeal or donor. Is there another type of fundraising strategy that would have a better return on investment? Well, congratulations, you made it through session 1. Now on to session 2. Keep up the good work.